Hey, it's Emma Romano here, founder of the Thrive and Life Foundation, self-healing coach, and the midwife to your personal alchemy.
I am Kelly Bowen, founder of the Heaven Within Foundation, CEO of Lifestyle Finance Australia, finance expert, life and business coach.
And you are listening to Inspired Conversations,
where we talk about the things that really matter. Yes, we go there.
We share together what's exciting us, inspiring us, and having the most profound impact on our lives and our clients' lives. And we do this to elevate and inspire you.
We cover it all from life, body, love, relationships, trauma healing, addictions, business, money, and all things woo-woo.
So sit back, relax,
and get ready to be inspired and laugh the fuck out loud.
Welcome, everybody. This is Inspired Conversations, and I am Emma Romano, and this is
Kelly Bowen, and we have got a juicy episode for you today.
Yeah.
Do
you want to explain it?
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about the dark side of success and what's really involved with coming home to authenticity and fulfillment. And we're going to take you on a little journey through some of the, let's call them the entrepreneurial traps that you can get. that you can get stuck in along the way that thief your joy. So if you are in any of these four little traps, we're talking burnout, imposter syndrome, having to maintain an image that you think you need to be successful, and also the difference between like the ego creating the success versus being able to trust and surrender to the soul creating the success. So if you find yourself in any four of these, we're going to give you very clear pathways out of that so you can come home to yourself and start experiencing fulfillment and really enjoying the journey, because that's what it's about, isn't it, Em?
It's exactly right. And this is a big one for me, because I was always, it's only good when you've got the achievement. And it's not true, because you can even think back to anything that you've done yourself, whether even that's, I'll be happy once I make the bed. You know, it could be as simple as that. I'll be happy once I've cleaned the toilet. Once you clean the toilet and made the bed, you just think it's the next thing to do. It really is about enjoying each moment while obtaining the end result.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, because that's where the learning is. So Kelly and I have been in this business for quite some time now. Like, how long have you been in this business, Kel? I've been about 9 years, I think. 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah, I've had it. Well, actually, I think this is my 10th year anniversary for the finance brokerage and coaching. I've been in nearly a few years longer than that. So let's say the best part of 12, 13 years.
Sweet. So, yeah, about 20 years collaboratively. That sounds better, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Fairly old enough to be that, but yes.
So we are what people would probably rate as successful in this business, because one, we do it full time and we love it and we are successful. We're globally known. We also make a shit ton of money, all the things. And most importantly, we really freaking love what we do. We love it. So how did we do it? Well, just personally, I'm going to tell you, I probably fucked it up more than I succeeded. And that's, like so many mistakes. And I've got to tell you, my biggest mistakes looking back were following somebody else's pathway that they thought I had to take. That's huge for me. And being in the ego, which means this. I don't mean egotistical. I mean another name for the ego is the pain body. And the pain body is a collaboration of your old traumas plus ancestral traumas. So it's literally 80% of our traumas and 20% of ancestral traumas. And it's fear. And it's all about hurt and grief. And I don't want to look like a dickhead. And I want to feel proud of myself, and I want people to feel proud of me, and all that. That's all the pain body. When you are governed, when you are directed by the pain body, that's when you have to hustle. That's when nothing's good enough. You can make $10,000 in a week and go, yeah, but where's the other 10,000? You'll never be satisfied. You'll burn out, all kinds of things. You'll never truly love the moment. You'll never be present in the moment. You'll always be worried about the past, or you'll always be focusing on, well, what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. That's what the pain body does. And the pain body also has all these limits to it, limits of what you can do. It'll start thinking about, I can't have it. I can't do it. I don't have enough time. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. My voice sounds funny. That's what the pain body does. And when you start listening to the pain body, I'm going to tell you now really quickly, you'll fuck it up. Isn't it true, Kel?
Yeah. And part of the journey is learning, like, with every fuck up, like where you trip with that, it's learning that level of self-love and compassion and integrating that part of self. And
Yes.
it's really interesting that you like talking about the how do we know, like when we're using somebody else's idea of what they've done to create success,
Mm,
blocks our own creativity
mm.
because we're trying to fit into their box. And please don't mistake this as us saying don't go and get a mentor. Absolutely go
Oh
and
no, get mentors.
get mentors.
Oh
But
yeah, you need
but
mentors.
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yes. But what can happen is that particularly in the early days, and depending upon, like, as you're talking about here with the pain body, depending upon what that's consisted of, and if we like if we're going back to some of the previous episodes where we've spoken about fawning quite a lot, and fawning is where we forgo our own identity to meet the needs of others because we need them to be okay for us to be okay. What happens is we actually don't know where our truth is. So if we're trying to create something for ourselves, we're going to look at someone and be like, right, that's what I want, but without actually stopping and going, hang on, what do I want? Because we don't clearly know what we do want. And sometimes the only way of like moving through that and finding our path is literally having a go and then figuring out, oh yes, this works for me and this feels good, and no, that's not me. And that's like, that is part of the journey. I remember in the early days I did so much of that. Like even at 19 when I won my world title, I still remember the moment of being like, yay, this is awesome, and having that kind of like momentary, here's that first 10 years of my life that I'd really dedicated myself to something, achieving the thing that I thought was going to, I don't know, magically make my life all better and set me up for the rest
Mm,
of my life,
yeah.
only to be like, fuck, my life has peaked at 19. Now what the fuck am I going to do? And
Yeah.
it being the most terrifying and kind of like, as in fulfilling in the sense of, wow, I worked 10 years for something and I achieved the result, but absolutely empty in the part of, oh, that didn't do the things that I thought it was going to do. And I don't even know what I thought it was going to do, but that was when I realized, I was like, oh, this isn't as much my goal as I thought it was my goal. And then
Oh,
being
it's
like,
so true. Do
and
you know,
then
I had that moment. I just want to share this with all these coaches out there because those people who want to make a lot of money, I had that very moment when I made $1 million like
mm,
18 months ago, 2 years ago,
mm,
and I
mm,
made my first million in my business. And it
mm.
was like, thrive, got it, got it. And I was like, well, now what? So now what do I have to do to be successful? Make 2 million? Do you know what I mean? It was just, I was like, oh, this is it. I've made it. I've made, well, now how much harder do I have to work? And it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And so then you've got to ask the question, and this is one that I really love, is like, whose voice is that that's driving me?
Yes.
Whose voice is telling me that that is the definition of success? And then that'll loop back to, and like the next part to unpack of this, and this is just tying back into the pain body, and these are just some little windows to look through if you relate to any of these sorts of things, is then if you start to look at somebody who has a really like overactive flight defense mechanism, now we're talking about somebody who's driven, who believes that perfection equals safety. So if you're not being perfect to the internal standards that you've set for yourself, that voice that's telling you who you need to be successful, to be enough, to be worthy, to be loved, that's forever changing, because as soon as you get to a level, it's going to look at a new person or a new thing and be like, cool, that's the next thing. Here's where you need to be, to then have that momentary sense of, oh, I'm here, to then feel empty again. And this is where, like, when you're driven by perfection equals safety, and if I'm not perfect, well, then I'm not lovable. Perfection equals connection. Then, like, this is like, now we're starting to touch into burnout, because this means that your body is constantly being flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, and you're constantly having to be on the go. You can't sit still, because being still means then you have to feel, and feeling equals death. So this is where we can, like, when we start looking at the journey of the entrepreneur and the journey from chasing what we're considered success, because usually it's one of the biggest driving beliefs behind all entrepreneurs is a sense of, I need to be something to be worthy, to be good enough. And one of the worst things that can happen to an entrepreneur, and this is just something from my experience of working with them and being in various different business rooms, is I must succeed in the eyes of my family and my loved ones.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then I'm a failure, and I
Yeah.
can't let them down.
That was me. I was in that. I had to, if my family thought I was successful, I was doing right. If my peers thought I was successful, I was doing right. My mentors thought I was successful, I was doing well. And that's when I had massive burnout in this business. And that was in my first, I think, 3 years. And I was doing very, very well. I was seeing a lot of clients, but shocking burnout. And how everybody, and it's funny because my family naturally do this. Are you busy? Are you busy? Are you busy? Right. See, so now I used to have a fear of not being busy, because not being busy means I'm not successful, right? It means I don't have a business. Guess what? I'm not busy. And that is success to me. I don't want to be busy. I had this title of being, Cal laughs at this, I was the busiest hypnotherapist known literally in the world. I was Emma Romano, the busiest hypnotherapist. What a shit freaking title.
I
And it was,
remember when I first met you with that, and I'm like,
yes,
I think that needs to change.
yeah. And it terrified me as well of not being busy, because if I'm not busy, well, what do I do with my time? What do I do now? Oh my God, I love having time. It's so beautiful to be able to have time and do what my soul wants to do, instead of what my ego thinks it needs to do. And then there's no burnout, and there's no disappointment, and there's no hustle, and there's no rush. And it's so weird. This is the coolest thing ever. When you sit in your soul and you sit in your presence of your life, and don't worry about yesterday and not freaking out about tomorrow in 5 minutes, and just sit in the presence. I'm going to tell you now, money floods in. You don't even have to work for it. So, you work smarter. It's universal law, because when you're present, you're not freaking out. Because at any given moment, unless somebody's got a knife or a gun at your head, you're not in danger. But we constantly think that we are. So we're always worried about, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? And we're in this state of panic. When we're in a state of panic, that is the frequency that we're sitting in, and that's what we're putting in the collective. So I feel we have a sense of responsibility, especially as coaches, mentors, therapists, practitioners, people, humans. What are we doing for the collective? And it's our responsibility to check ourselves, because it's the ego that will panic, the soul doesn't. And that is what leads us to burnout. So this is a big thing. I feel as entrepreneurs, practitioners, therapists, and I'm talking about practitioners and therapists and entrepreneurs, because that's what you and I are, Kel. And, we're business owners. We have multiple businesses. We do lots of things. We have our fingers in many pies, and we love it. I think the main thing that I probably learned, especially working with you, Kel, is really, and working with my other mentor, Jason, would be to really dissolve the fear and dissolve the pain body, resolve it and dissolve it, and sit more comfortably in what my soul wants and trust myself, trust the universe, trust God in providing. I think that's a huge one, knowing that we're not alone. Whereas the ego wants us to think that, no, we're going to do it all. We're on our own. It's all up to us. And to be,
Sorry, I think it just cut out. Can you say that little bit again?
that last bit was to take full responsibility, and I don't mean for ourselves, but for the world. It's our responsibility for the world. It's our responsibility. I'm responsible for everyone. I'm responsible for everybody that comes into my realm. I'm responsible for everyone. And you know who pulled me up on this? I remember breaking down a few years ago, and I was very overwhelmed. My son, he would have been 18 at the time, it was Ben. And I said, I just feel so responsible for this world, and I feel so responsible for everyone. He went, I didn't know God died. I went, what? And he gets his phone and he goes, I don't know, where does it say that God died and made you God now? Like, I don't know, what happened? Why you? And I was like, oh my God. And he goes, that's a God complex. He goes, it's all right, God didn't die. He can look after that one for you.
Oh, that's so great.
Isn't it good?
Talk about a pattern scramble and stop you in the moment. You'd be like,
100%. And it was I just went, holy shit. Who the fuck do I think I am, being responsible for everyone in this world? I'm not.
Yeah.
And really the only thing we're responsible for is us.
Yeah. And it's a common thing to start at the beginning of this journey. Like, I know I definitely started in the coaching space as a wounded healer for sure. I wanted to fix myself and fix everybody out, fix everyone else on the process and rescue them. And I definitely had the over responsibility for other people's healing. And the challenge with that is the moment that you try and take on something for someone else, you're actually not seeing them as sovereign. You're robbing them of their sovereignty and their own capacity to do their own healing and changing, because you're in accordance to whatever's best in their highest interest. But what you're doing is going, you know what, I don't think you're capable of that. I'm going to do that for you. And then now imagine if you're seeing 10 clients and you're doing that for all of them. No wonder you feel exhausted, you feel drained, you feel responsible for results, you feel pressure. And it is such a normal part of the journey and a rite of passage. I also just want to normalize some of these things, that if you are doing this, don't be like, oh my God, I suck. Like, no, that's not what we're trying to communicate here. Yeah. We're just showing you some patterns that are very common, particularly in the early days, and like looking at creating your own successful business. Like, this is the dark side of success that people, like, sometimes you can just end up in it and not realize, and being like, oh, I'm doing all of these things and this is meant to be my passion and this is what I'm meant to love, but I feel like it's killing me, and I'm just over people, they suck, and I don't understand, and I feel like if I don't, like, I'm going to get found out and I'm going to be an imposter because I'm not being perfect to the image that I think I need to be for this industry. Like, that one was such a huge one for me at the beginning, because at the time when I started in the coaching space, I was still stripping. So here I am stripping on weekends, making the money to pay for my coaching so I can then go, like, create a coaching business and get clients. But on the weekends, I was a first class party girl. And then during the week, here's me with my life together. Not quite. And then feeling like, some months were better than others. What I had going on in my life. But then having to, like, creating this identity for myself as me as the coach, because you've got to remember, it in any form of creation, it's not have to be, it's be to have. So I was really struggling with creating an identity for myself that allowed space for this version of me that was still stripping, because that's just where I was at, and that's how I was making money. And then also the coach version of me that was helping people sort their lives out and helping them, and because I was in the health space, so I'd sort of leverage my world title to say, hey, I know what it takes to create like a world champion athlete, so I know how to take care of the body, I know how to shape the mind, I know how to, like, fuel the body, so come work with me. Yet on weekends I'm getting myself trashed. Like, there was so much mismatching going on. And even if you don't have that going on at the beginning, like, of the journey, or at different parts of the journey, depending upon, like, this can even happen when you're going from one level to the next, And as you're stabilizing in the new reality of yourself, being like, oh, it could even be you've gone from being a one-man band and now you started to hire a team. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough as a leader. What if they find out that I'm not what I look like at the front of my brand, or I'm not like, you know, Pollyanna 24/7, and nobody is. And if you're doing that, I recommend like have a look at the pain body and why you're bypassing. However, but this is like it can come up at little bits and at different parts along the way. It's just noticing where that is and then grounding back into self. So, and I think that also then sort of ties in with what we're talking about is like maintaining this image. And sometimes what we can do, particularly like in this coaching personal brand space, is create an image of ourselves that we think we have to keep keeping up to, because it's so common to see in this space, oh, look at me and my laptop lifestyle, and look at me buying designer clothes, and look at me flying business class, and look at me in my fancy car. Like, it is a really common path that people take. And when we're looking, there's nothing wrong with those things. Like, I love all of those things. But when I do it, I never do it because I think it's going to make it doesn't mean something about me. There are so many things that I do that I don't put on social media purely because they've got nothing to do with the rest of the world. It's just me enjoying luxury. And I don't need to show me doing luxury to the rest of the world to be like, hey, look at me, I'm living the life, I am the thing. But what can happen is that there can be this pressure where we stop being authentic to ourselves and then start looking like an image that we think we need to be successful in this space. And then, give that 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the track and being like, broke because you spent everything on your credit card trying to keep up with this ideal of what your lifestyle should be, or being in all the courses. That was my thing. I could not stop buying courses. I didn't even like all the online ones, didn't even complete them. I just bought them.
Oh my God, Cal, I think I've got 145 and I've never opened any of them. Terrible. I'm shocking.
I just have a rule now. Unless I'm in the room, I just don't buy the course, because there's a high probability, unless depends. Sometimes I'm really good, but if it's an online course that has a lot of work to it, then there's a high probability, like a lot of self work, I'm not going to do it. But if it's
I'd rather go away for a week at the retreat.
I'm way better in that kind of environment. And this is the other part too. Like, you start to learn to know yourself and how you operate. So I guess when we start shifting into like, how do we come back to authenticity, and how do we come back to fulfillment? How do we avoid these traps? Because gosh, I know I've definitely found myself in them before, and I know that you have too, Em. And I think like one of the biggest things that shifted for me when I went from really being driven by this so-called dark side of success is that I was very motivated by moving away from pain. So all of the things that were inspiring me to get out of bed was because I didn't want to be something else. Or I was getting out of bed using words like I must, I have to, I need, I should. And these are all words that are moving away from something, that if I don't do these things, then there are pain consequences. And this is all like pain body drivers, right? Then as I started shifting this, and this was after burnout, and one of the things that I hit burnout for me was probably 2015, 2016. I was starting to come out of it by 2017. And one of the first things I did was started to recognize the language I was using to get myself out of bed. And that's when I realized, I was like, oh my God, I am like flooding my body with adrenaline every morning by like, I need to do this. I have to do this. I must do this. And I'm just like, wow, where is this coming from? And then I was like, you're not allowed to get out of bed until you decide what you want to do today. You choose to do what you want to do today. You know what you're excited about to experience today, and what you can do today, and just shifting the words I was using to start my day with. And it was
I call it the get to.
The get to, yeah.
The get to. I get to do this today.
Yeah.
How cool. I get to, instead of I have to, oh my God, I actually get to do this today. I really love doing that. I get to do this and I get to do that. That's what I call it, the get to.
I love that. And it's so powerful. Like, we don't realize how powerful our language is, because our language, every time we use it, we are casting spells.
A spell. That's why they call it spelling.
Or abracadabra, it's a Hebrew word for, I can't remember, but essentially, as I speak, I create.
Yes, and it's so
Also,
true. We've got to be so careful of our words. Do you know what's funny? I'm going to tell you about this client I've got, right?
mm, mm,
I've got this client in a world of physical pain. And I've said to him, your physical pain is in a relation to emotional pain. Nope, it's not. It's just physical pain. So I did a session, and at the very end, he goes into complete venom around his father. I went, that's your physical pain. I said, because what you're saying about your father is physical pain. I can't forgive him. I said, it's nothing to do with your father. It's what you're holding on to. Well, why, if your father's hurt you so much, why do you continuously hurt yourself like it's still happening? And just out of his words, it's the way he says it, it's what he says. I said, you are spelling it out. That's why they call it spelling. I said, you've got to stop talking about it. Like, you literally shut the fuck up about it. Don't talk about it. Let it go. And he's just, that's where all his pain comes from. So we did it. We did an experiment. I said to him, for 2 days, you're not going to talk about your dad out loud. You might think about it, but then you're going to, think of something else. So we came up with a solution. He was going to think of, I can't remember what it was now. I think the footy. Instead of every time he thought of his dad's going to think of a football, like someone kicking a football goal. Did it for 2 days. The pain was not 10 out of 10. It was now 2 out of 10. Then for 2 days, he was talking about his dad all day. And those 2 days, the pain was 10 out of 10.
yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it?
Isn't it interesting?
Our body will absolutely manifest our unfelt feelings.
Absolutely. But if
Yeah,
you talk venom, if you're sitting there watching the news and you're talking about the news, this is what people don't understand. Your unconscious mind has no idea that you're talking about someone else when you're talking. It'll only think you're talking about self. So say if we're sitting here bitching about, I don't know, some chick called Sarah, right? And saying, oh, Sarah's a bitch, Sarah's this, Sarah's that. Our body actually thinks we're talking about ourselves. And then we'll react and respond accordingly.
mm-hmm.
There you
Upsell
go.
feel, 100%.
So if you're watching the news and you're watching about, I don't know, the war and going, the war's terrible, the government's crap, your body thinks you're saying it's crap, doesn't know it's talking about the government, doesn't know it's talking about any war or anything. So we got to be so freaking careful about what we say, what we're watching, what we're thinking, what we're feeling. Because whatever we're talking about, whatever we're thinking about, whatever we're feeling, we're putting into the collective.
100%. I always like to think that the war that we love to see out here, the war's in here. It's within us. And it always
Yeah.
comes back for me to the law of correspondence, which says, as above, so below, as within, so without.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm fueling myself with things that create disharmony, then my disharmony on the inside is going to continually perpetuate and create the external. And this is like where, and it, like linking this back into how we've been talking about coming home to authenticity. So the first part is like realizing that if you're on the dark side of success, you're driven by pain, you're driven by survival, scarcity, lack. I need these things to be enough to be safe is essentially the driver. It's an away from motivator, very powerful to get shit done. However, it's not the foundation of thriving. And it's not the foundation of authenticity, and it is not the foundation of fulfillment. And when you shift, and I've seen almost every successful person I know, like deemed in the eyes of success, that have success and fulfillment, have been through this. And usually there is a huge dark night of the soul. It doesn't always have to be that way, but typically if you've been very rooted in this dark side of success, like chasing to be enough, worthy, love, insert whatever your definition of success is here.
Yep.
It crashes. It gets to a point where you just can't push against it anymore, and everything crumbles. And then it's like, oh, if I can no longer live this way, then how do I live? And this is where the relationship of with self really begins. And this is where, who is that voice that's driving me with that stick? Where does this come from? And it's usually a mom, a dad, some bigger person from when you were little that put these ridiculous standards on you, or that you created for yourself because you learned that when I do X, Y, Z, or if I achieve, or if I'm the good girl in accordance with the eyes of mum or dad, then I will receive love, and in there, that inner critic, that inner, that inner asshole or that inner mean girl gets created, and then that's what's driving and shifting from surviving to thriving is dismantling that person. Because once you dismantle that person, then you can start to trust and to surrender to the guidance of your higher self coming through, to the guidance of your soul. And then that's when you can link in what Em was talking about, the I get tos. So when the guidance comes through, it's the guidance from your soul, because it's always loving.
Always.
Always loving. It never comes back. It never comes through with a must, a need, a have to. If I don't,
And there's no lack. The soul has no lack. It is universal. It is love, it is abundance, it's opulence, it's all the things. And money is a part of that, because money isn't this. I want to share this as well before we wrap up. I think this is important. It just got to me. I was mentoring my groups 2 days ago, and I said, what do people want? What do you want? People are like, money, 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 money. I said, you don't want money. I said, it's what money gives you, and the feeling that the thing gives you is what you want. That's what you focus on. Because money, and I explained it this way, I thought it was kind of a cool analogy. I know Perth is going through a massive heat wave right now, and it's 43 degrees Celsius for 3 days in a row.
wow.
And I said, imagine if you lived in a tent and you had just in a tent and you're in that 43 degrees heat for 3 days in a row. How do you think you'd go? And they went, terrible. What if I offered you $10,000, but you couldn't spend it? Would it be worth anything to you? Or if I said to you, with the worth of $10,000, I'm going to put you in a 3-bedroom, beautiful home for 6 months, heating, aircon, everything, but you're not going to get the cash. You're going to get the house with the furniture, $10,000 worth. What are you going to take? They said, the house. I said, so it's not the cash that you're wanting. It's what the cash gives you, because the money is just a bridge to get to you. It's just a vehicle to get you what you want. But so many people are so focused on the money. What is it that you want the money to get you? Because you might get it a different way. Someone might just give you a car. You might win a car. It may not be the money necessarily that's going to get you the car. So this is something I really, really encourage people to do. And I don't know if you've heard about the 369.
No, please enlighten me.
So 369, I've been doing the 369 project for maybe 2 months now, and it works. So you write three times. You've got to write the same thing, right? So 3 times in the morning, you can write, I receive wealth, health, and love. I receive wealth, health, and love. I receive wealth, health, and love. And then at lunchtime, you do it 6 times. And then just before you go to bed, you do it 9 times. Got the 369 project. But you write it like you already got it. Right? So you just got to keep writing these things. So when I was writing wealth, because it evolves, when you start doing this project, this protocol, it evolves, deeply evolves. So I'm like, wealth, well, what does wealth mean to me? Does it mean money? No, it doesn't mean money to me. It means experiences, things like that. Like I would have enough, I'd have wealth to, if like Ben had to get all his teeth pulled, wisdom teeth pulled out, it was $4,000. Me 8-9 years ago, there's no way I would have been, would never have just had $4,000, right? Teddy, a couple of years ago had to have both ACLs done. It was 21 grand for my dog to have both knees done. And it was a no-brainer. It was like, here's the money. Whereas 8-9 years ago, Emma, never in a million years, we probably would have had to put him down. And he was only 2 years old, but there's no way we could have rummaged up anything like that. So I call that wealth. You just have, there's an issue, there's the money. It's a no-brainer. You want to go for dinner? It's a no-brainer. You want to go for breakfast? It's a no-brainer. Here's $50 for breakfast, whereas like 8, 9 years ago, Emma, I was not eating breakfast at a cafe 3 to 4 mornings a freaking week. That's for bloody sure, right? That to me is wealth. So this will evolve this protocol, but it is something that will set your soul on fire, because when you write it, you have to feel like you already have it. And then you start noticing that you already do have it. So when you already know that you have it, it's like I put wealth, health, and opulence. I have such great health. And even if somebody doesn't have great health, it may only be 10% of your body that's not great, but you're so focused on it that it feels like it's your entire life. You know, it's like pain. My mum has bad knees and she goes, oh, my knees, my knees, my knees. And I go, what part of your body is your knees? At a percentage. And I'll draw a little stick figure. I go, put a little point where your knees are. She goes, there. And I went, what percentage of your body? She goes, my God, it's probably about 2%. I said, well, how much energy have you been putting into it? She goes, oh, it's like 100%. And there you go. I said, so 2% of pain has now become 100% of pain because you're so fully focused on the pain, but you're not focusing on the rest of the freedom you have in your body. So she already has health.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy, isn't it?
It's huge. And the wealth and the opulence, like, isn't it really opulent to be able to have a phone, to have a computer, have a TV, be able to go to your tap and have running water and you can drink out of that running water?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so opulent, I feel, to be able to go to a shopping mall or something like that and walk in and buy a $200 or $300 or a $1,000 piece of item. I think it's really opulent that you can just go, fuck it, let's just go and have breakfast and not worry about, can I only afford a coffee today? Can I get a coffee and a meal? That's opulence. So we already have this wealth. We already have this health. We already have this beautiful freedom. We already have so much of it. And I think this is, the more we focus on that, of what you've already got, you just get more and more and more and more and more of it. That's the 369 protocol.
Such a beautiful presencing activity.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I can really feel that. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Because even I was, whenever I think, oh, I got my pain body starts to take over and I go, oh, that scarcity thing. I just literally look at my crystal collection.
Yeah.
I look at my crystal collection, or I look at my bookshelf. And my crystal collection used to be money. And my bookshelf used to be money. So I didn't lose money. It just got transferred.
Yeah, I do that project too. I love looking around and seeing everything around me was once my money.
Yeah, it was once
I've
money.
got plenty
Like,
of it.
yeah, like this glass used to be cash. I had to pay cash for this glass. Even
Yeah.
these tissues, this used to be cash, these tissues. So everything we have used to be cash. And you look in one room and I go, fuck, I'm a multi-goddamn millionaire, because there's a lot of money.
There's a
There's a lot
lot
of,
of money when you look around our houses. Like,
yeah, a lot of money, like in our furniture, like our house, cars, everything. If you were to
yes.
burn everything down right now and replace it, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, 100%. I love these exercises. So just we're just going to wrap it up, as
Yeah.
there's been so much in this, and there's been so many exercises, and there's four that I've written down that we're just going to recap on them, because I think if you implement even just one of these, it is
Yeah.
really going to help if you are experiencing any of the things we're talking about earlier in terms of the dark side of success, really shift you out of that surviving to thriving place so that you can start coming back home to authenticity and fulfillment. And I love that project. So M's first one, the 369 project. I'd love for you guys to put in below, like, which one are you willing to take on. So you've got the 369 project. I'm going to give that one a go. I'm really,
Yeah.
like, I really felt some resonance with that one. There's another one that we haven't spoken about this, but I'm going to quickly share it with you, because I found this really helped me start to make decisions that were aligned with me. And it's what I call the decision making frame. And the decision making frame helps you align, and this is particularly if you're choosing mentors or trying to make a decision that you're not too sure about, use this frame and it'll bring you straight into alignment. So there's 4 questions you need to ask yourself. Question 1, if I do this, if I move forward in this way, is it good for me? Needs to be a yes. If it's a no, well, then it's just a no. The second one is, if I move forward in this way, is it good for others? So does it support everyone around me? So I guess clients, family, whoever is in close proximity that could be affected by this, is it good for them? And if it's not, then you can always check in and be like, well, at what level? Like, as long as you're not taking responsibility for them, then that's okay. So it has to be good for others. Then is it good for the greater good? So me doing this, is it going to be good for like the collective? Does it support everyone? So for example, I don't know, let's just say when I chose to be a vegetarian, if being a vegetarian, like eating meat, is it good for me? Not really. Good for others? No. Good for the greater good? No. It was a really easy decision. Don't need it anymore. But you could go, is it good for me? Well, it could be. Good for others? Not so much. Good. So this is where you can start playing with it. And then the 4th question, this one I particularly love if you're looking at mentors or you're going to use somebody else's process to get a result. Do I like the process that they're offering to achieve the result? So this is where if they're saying you've got to get up at 5 a.m. to, take on the world, to make $1 million, but you don't get up to 10 o'clock, you're not going to like being in a 5 a.m. club. You need a 10 a.m. club, and find somebody who that's created the results you want that starts their day at 10 a.m. and maybe finishes later at 7, as opposed to somebody that's like, yeah, I want to start at 5 and be done by 2. Like, don't try to be a fish climbing a tree. That little frame has just helped me so much and has really helped anytime I felt YOLO, so that you only live once, or FOMO, fear of missing out. It really curbed that. And then the next one is, we spoke about this a lot throughout the episode, which was changing your language patterns. Notice what you're using to drive yourself. Any needs, shoulds, musts, have tos, just tag them, catch them, and go on a detox with them. So anytime you find yourself using those words, switch them. As Em said, she loves the get to. I love the I'm excited to, I choose to, I can, I desire, I want. These are all positive framed moving towards. So you're using like positive motivation to pull you towards something, as opposed to stick to push you and get you motivated. Very different. One's inspiration, the other is motivation, driven by very different things. And then finally, when you meet that inner mean person, whether it be like the arsehole boss or the mean girl that's driving you, just ask, whose voice is this? Who's really talking to me? Because I promise you'll be blown away by who says they're talking to you, because it is not your soul. It is somebody from your past.
Oh, and then, yes.
And then you can fire that person, you can evolve that person.
Yeah.
And then you can start to hear the guidance from your soul, because the moment that you can recognize that voice, that it's not your voice, then you can go, okay, thank you, I hear you. And higher self, soul, if you were to talk to me right now, then you can start to hear that voice.
Yeah. That's a great episode, Kel.
Yeah. So please let us know, which one of the 4 projects are you going to play with? I am definitely going to try the 369. The other 3 I naturally do a lot anyway. So I'm super curious to see how that goes. How about you, Em?
I'm definitely going to, which one? I love the 369. I love the get to. There's a word you said, I desire. I'm going to start I desiring. I like that.
Yeah, I desire is fun.
I desire. Yeah. I just thought of my husband when I said that.
Love it. Look at Anthony.
Totally desire that guy. He's hot.
So good.
My love. And also, if you're a practitioner, use it with your clients as well. Use all the things. We're here to share. It was a great episode. Please let us know what do you desire for us to chat about as well. Keep in contact with us. We love getting messages and private messages from you guys. We love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing. And beautiful souls, please remember, we're not a paid show. We're totally driven by how much you share us. So if you've resonated with this and you have a friend or family member you think would love it, tag them, share, We love you very much and look forward to our next episode.
Thanks, guys. We love you. Mwah. See ya. Bye.